Welcome everyone, I'm your host Rashida Poonawala, and this is the second episode of Career Spotlight, a podcast that highlights the different paths of many successful people. Today we have as our guest the Town of North Hempstead Supervisor, Jennifer DeSena. Supervisor DeSena is the 38th Supervisor of the Town of North Hempstead, serving this role since 2021. Before being elected to this role, she was an attorney and leader of nonprofit organizations supporting family health and safety. In her role as supervisor, she has overseen several projects and initiatives, and we are so excited to have her on this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. I love your podcast, and your first interview with Carson Daly was amazing. Congratulations on an excellent interview.
Thank you so. Can you talk to us about your journey and how it led you to the current position you hold right now as supervisor of the Town of North Hempstead?
It's not a common journey. I never intended to go into politics. I'm a lawyer, and when I moved to Manhasset in 2000, I was commuting to the city, working at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then I had my first son. And I decided I would take a few years off. And then I had my second son, and I decided I would take a few more years off. But there is so much to do in Manhasset. There are a lot of people here doing nonprofit work and helping in the schools and helping coach sports teams, scouts. There were so many things that I got involved in that I did not go back to work as a lawyer. And then my sons were both going to be in college. And it was time for me to work full-time again. So I decided that since the job of Town of North Hempstead Supervisor was open, that I would run for it. And I knew that it would let me stay very involved in the community. I know a lot of people from doing various nonprofit work. And I thought it would be a great way to learn more and continue in the area of public service. So I ran for it, and I won.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
But why did you choose politics and to be town supervisor? What drove you to doing what you do now?
Well, as you know, Town Hall is right across the street from the Manhasset Secondary Building, and that is right down the block from my house. Oh. So to me, it's a building that I was familiar with from walking by for 20 years. I had been to town hall meetings, and I felt like in Manhasset, we weren't getting a lot of work done. It seemed like people asked for improvements in sidewalks, improvements in stores, and nothing was changing for us. So I found out that there was no representative from Manhasset on the town board for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And so when you don't live in the neighborhood, it's not as important to you to solve the difficult problems. You know, some problems are easy to solve, and some take a little more work. And since nobody who lives here was representing us in town hall, I thought I might be able to do a good job.
And what do you consider your proudest achievement as supervisor?
I would say that my proudest achievement is something that is going to be very good for Manhasset. And it did take extra work to try and get this for Manhasset. And that is having a sewer put in underneath Plandome Road that our stores on Plandome Road can connect to. So one of the reasons that we don't have a lot of restaurants is that restaurants use a lot of water.
Yeah.
And for instance, Louis' Diner, which everyone loves, and we just celebrated their 65th year, they have to pump their septic tank every week.
Okay.
So that means they have a truck come, and this is really not very interesting, certainly not as interesting as Carson Daly, but they have to have a septic tank pumped every week, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for the environment or for businesses. So I figured out a way with my team to use money we had received for pandemic relief. It's called ARPA money. We're using that as an incentive for stores to connect to the sewer. So hopefully almost every store, and there are 88 stores on Platinum Road.
Wow.
Hopefully every one of them will choose to connect to the sewer, and we'll be able to give them some money back. Once they do the connection, we'll be able to give them some of the money so that it is more affordable for them. And that means it'll all be finished at the same time, and we can then repair the roads and the sidewalks at the same time.
Yes.
So something that Manhasset residents have been asking for as long as I've lived here, 24 years,
Yes.
we're going to get done in the next year or two.
That is incredible, and I'm sure like everyone in the town is probably so happy to finally have someone who is in charge, leading them, and getting things that they've wanted for so long done, and like finally having their voices be heard.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that for the community.
And I think everyone will like it because we'll have new restaurants. That means more places for kids to go after school, for families to go to celebrate their events. So I'm very excited about it.
So what is the hardest part of your career, and like what is some of the challenges you've had to overcome by being a supervisor?
The hardest part is dealing with politics. So I didn't realize how much politics affects these government jobs. I did not have a background in politics, and no one in my family is connected to politics. So when I ran, people knew that about me, and they trusted me because they said, oh, she's not your typical politician. But once I won, I was surprised that people wanted me to fail just because I wasn't from their political party. And I didn't think that was fair, and it's certainly not good for the town because if I fail, they fail.
Yes.
You know, if I can't get things voted on and accomplished that will benefit the town, then it's bad for everybody. And it means that the town board is wasting time and money that we should be using for the residents. So that's been very difficult. And my first 2 years, the town board voted against almost every single thing I wanted to do.
Wow.
And it's because they wanted me to not have anything to brag about, anything to say that I achieved. Fortunately, there were things that I was able to do, such as the sewer allocation and a tax cut. So fortunately, I was reelected, and we have 2 new people on the town board, and I believe that I'm going to have more support, and we'll be able to focus on some more things that benefit the residents.
Wow. How did you feel like when like people started to like kind of push against you and kind of not take your idea seriously? Like, did you feel like you had to prove yourself even more? And like, how did you get the things that you wanted to done, and how did you like not give up?
Very good questions. All I could do is my best. And, something that people said to me from the beginning when I was first campaigning, and then when I was the supervisor, and then when I was campaigning again, is that you can only be yourself. So, I see a lot of people who have jobs like mine, and they talk really loud and fast, and they say really fancy things, and I'm not like that. So when I would be at a town board meeting and people would criticize me and just vote against me, I would just stay myself. And as long as I laid out what the problem was, and everyone could see that there was something unfair going on, that it was always 4 against 3, and that they even sometimes voted down my motions. They wouldn't even let me speak. And there were just some things that were rude, just plain rude. At that point, well, it was just unprofessional. Yeah. There were some unprofessional things going on at the board meetings. And rather than yell about it or, overreact, I just let it happen. But the thing I did was I put the board meetings on TV so everybody could see it. And then I didn't have to say, you're being rude. It was obvious.
Yeah.
And so I basically just let it play out. And I knew it would take 2 years of me sitting there and having to not get my way. But it was a process of people watching and becoming more and more interested and saying, what's happening is unprofessional and rude, and we would like her to have another chance.
Yeah.
And so now I have another chance.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
re-winning elections and, getting that second chance, because what you just said, that's, just plain disrespectful, and I feel like that's, shouldn't happen. But can you talk to us about leadership and what it means to be a leader, since you are now supervisor and you are leading the Manhasset community?
Well, you have to lead by example. I would never ask people to do something that I wouldn't do. And I find my style is to be very approachable. People very often find me at meetings by myself. I stayed till the end. I talk to everyone. So I think that a good leader does not separate herself. Note the her in the leader. A good leader does not separate her or himself from others. You have to be approachable, and you have to basically live by what you say.
I want to kind of circle back to you said you didn't want to go into politics originally. So can you talk about what did you major in? And
Right. Okay. So I went to Massapequa High School, and then I went to Boston College.
Yes.
I had always wanted to be a lawyer because my father was a lawyer.
Okay.
I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That's a job that It's a job that I saw every day because my father was a lawyer, plus I admire my father so much. So I thought, well, I want to be a lawyer. And so when I went to college, I majored in English, which is, just sort of, that's about reading and writing, and it's a very, very broad major. When I got to Boston College, I took a basic economics class, and the teacher was so good, so funny, and such a great speaker that almost everyone who took the class also became an economics major.
Wow.
Which could be dangerous because the upper level economics classes are much harder.
Okay.
But I did enjoy it very much. So I was a double major in English and economics. And to me, I thought it was a great introduction for law school. Economics is a little bit getting into business and, what happens with prices and quantity. And then English, again, reading and writing and the great artists. So that's what I studied.
If you could start off your career now, what is something you would have done differently, or something you would do the same?
Something I would have done differently is I would have taken a few years off, at least one, maybe 2 or 3, before going to law school. I went straight from Boston College to St. John's Law School. And I didn't appreciate being in school at that point because I had been in school, my whole life.
Yeah.
I think if I had taken a few years off, I would have, had to work.
Yes.
And get up early every day and work and pay bills and all those things. And I think I would have appreciated stopping work and having 3 more years as a student. But as it was, I didn't really appreciate being in school. I was tired of being in school.
Yeah.
Also, I think before deciding to become a lawyer, it would be good to work in some sort of legal field to get a look at what the job is and see if you really want that lifestyle, if the field is actually interesting to you. So that's my advice because of what my experience was.
What advice would you give to high schoolers who are still not sure about their career path and what major to pursue in college?
I think it's very hard to choose a major when you're still in high school.
Yes.
One thing I have learned from all the people I meet now as the town supervisor is that there is an incredible need for nurses. And the healthcare professionals would like to have more access to high school students to tell them to think about nursing as a career and it is a great career, and it's something that you could you're very in demand. You'll always have a job. You can move and you could work part-time. You could work in a school. It's a very flexible field. So, but you also have to take nursing courses in college. So it's something that, you would want to consider before applying to college. Otherwise, I think it's very hard to choose. Some people, really won't know even after they graduate from college what they'd like to do. So the most important thing is to be honest with yourself. If you don't like science,
Don't do science.
don't do science.
Yeah.
If you like to write, then, go towards that. Everybody has their own path. So if you're trying to live your life according to someone else's path, you might not be happy. So, it's fine to look around and talk to other people and ask them, why do you want to do that? What makes you think that you want to be a nurse? Or what makes you think that you want to be an accountant? And listen to them, but be true to yourself. What are your strengths? What do you like to do? And then hope for the best.
Yeah.
Also, what you choose is not forever. You can always change your path. And I'm a good example of that because I was never trying to go the way I went, towards politics. But some doors just seem to open. And so that's something else, when you're in college, I think you have to look for those open doors. And when you see an opportunity, go for it. Don't be afraid and go for it.
Take that leap of faith.
Take the leap of faith, yes. When I was asked to run for town supervisor and I changed my mind a few times. I said, no, I can't do it. Yes, I can do it. No, I can't win. And someone said to me, this door is not going to open again. If you don't take it now, you're not going to be offered another chance. And this person also said that if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it and they're going to win.
Yeah.
So why not you? And then I'm going to tell you a great trick. A friend of mine, a very good friend of my son's, she played a little trick on me and she did a pretend flip of the coin. Oh. And she said, I'm going to flip the coin. Let heads be that you say yes and tails be that you say no. And she flipped it. And then she said, what did you wish it was going to be? And I said, well, I was wishing it would be heads. So that helped me make my decision. I did want to give it a try.
And what would you say to people who are still unsure of what they want to do, or just unsure of let's say they go to college, they major in one thing, but then they realize after they don't want to do that. What would you tell them, since you started as an English and econ major and then you kind of just jumped into politics?
Right. Well, first of all, law school is very expensive right now, so that's a tough road to go down if you don't really want to do it. But I'll say that law school is a great education if you like to read and you have to read a lot in law school.
Yeah.
So if you like being a student, law school is a very good broad education, and it opens doors. It will open doors in a lot of different ways. But yeah, consider a government job too. There are a lot of government jobs, and not all of them are elected offices. So a government job is really good. And if you start young, even if you start as a lifeguard at one of our town parks, you will be in the pension system. And those summers that you work as a lifeguard, they'll add up. So if you ever get a government job later in life, you'll have months towards your pension and towards retirement. So working for the government is a great way to serve the public, and it can be very meaningful. So I would definitely consider that.
And speaking of that, why did you choose to go into like civil service and like public service?
Well, I like talking to people. I like seeing what's going on in the community, and my job is really great for that. I'm invited everywhere, and most places I go, it's a celebration of some volunteer work, or a lot of them are religious celebrations and cultural celebrations, places I never would have been invited before. So I get to see leaders all around the community, civic association leaders, or even religious leaders, but I see leaders who are helping people, and they're volunteers, and it's very inspiring. There's just so many volunteers out there who are helping others, and that's another piece of advice. Anyone who's lonely or feeling like they don't know what to do, or they need to meet a new crowd, and this is no matter what age you are, volunteer somewhere. If you like, for instance, we have a library, great library in Manhasset. If you're a student, you can volunteer in the summer. There's all sorts of programs, reading programs. They also have things like Friends of the Library, which is fundraising and events and programming. But you're going to meet people who are like-minded, who have similar interests. And when you are serving others, you feel better about yourself. This is, by the way, I skipped something I did in my past, which was at Manhasset High School. I was the executive director of the Coalition Against Substance Abuse, known as CASA, which is known for Red Ribbon Week and things like that. And one of the things I learned from there is that volunteering makes you feel better about yourself. It improves your self-esteem. It always gets your head out of your own problems. When you think about your problems, you just feel sad, like, I'm not good at this, or, I'm never going to be able to afford a certain vacation, or my clothes are lousy. Whatever it is, you can feel bad about it. Then when you go help someone else, you see, first of all, you're so necessary. You're so needed and appreciated. And you also see that there are people in real need, and so suddenly your clothes don't feel so lousy. You say, wow, I am so grateful for what I have, and that I have the ability to help others. So there's so many places to volunteer. One that I have always loved and that my kids were involved in was Adventures in Learning over at the EOC building. That's where kids can go. It's an after-school program, and students can go help. They help with homework, but they can just be a mentor. And that feeling of helping someone else, it's just it gets you out of your own worries, and it's medicine. It's medicine that's better than alcohol or nicotine or any kind of drug. It's the best. It's the best for your self-esteem.
I totally agree with that. I feel like when you help people, not only are you helping someone and like hopefully impacting someone's life in like a positive way, it does really make you feel better about yourself, because you're realizing you're putting your time into doing something good and something beneficial, and that can like change someone else's life, and hopefully you can impact them and leave them as a better person. Hopefully they can leave you as a better person as well.
Absolutely. And you also might make friends along the way. Because a lot of these projects, you don't do them alone. You do them with other people. And when you surround yourself with positive people, you're way ahead of the game. If you surround yourself with negative people, they'll pull you down. But if you meet people who are doing inspiring and positive things, they'll pull you up.
No, I totally agree. And I guess those are really all the questions I have for today. But thank you so much, Supervisor DeSena, for coming on the podcast. any last words you would like to give the listeners?
Yes, if any of you would like to come over to Town Hall and have a tour, it's very important to know your government, to know who are your elected leaders. This is a complicated thing because we have many layers of government. Some people live in a village, some don't, and very often there's redistricting and different elections every year. But it's so important to know who represents you.
Yes.
So that if you ever have a problem or you have an idea, if they already know you, so like right now I already know you. If you were to send me an email or call me and say, oh, it's Rashida, I'd say, oh, well, I know her. She's impressive.
Yes.
And
thank you.
yes. But when you already have the problem and you say, hey, and you're complaining, you sort of blend in with a lot of people who are complaining.
Yeah.
So I would love any students to come over, call my office, or email me. I don't know if you want me to say it or if you want to put it on here. Yeah, my email is DeSenaJ@northhempsteadny.gov. So email me, let me know what you think about our town, or if you'd like to come over and see how our government's working. And I'd be happy to share my experience. I've also always hoped that by me going from sort of a normal person into government, that I might inspire other people to consider it.
Well, that is very inspiring. And once again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for saying yes and doing this. But thank you so much for coming on. And that's all I have for you guys today. I'm your host, Rashida Punawala, signing off.